Welcome to Kevin and Brian's Horror Bulletin Podcast, recorded live in the catacombs beneath your feet, where each week we cover the latest horror news, shorts, a classic Universal horror, and 2 creature feature reviews.
This week after the news, we'll cover the Universal Studios movie The Cat and the Canary from 1927.
The more contemporary Noroi, The Curse from 2005, discussion of the short film Monitor, and
The modern horror film Possum from 2018. So turn up the volume and lean in close. Here we go.
First, we have the news. It started as a short film in 2005, then a full-length movie in 2014, and now a series is coming.
Going to debut on the FX network March 27th of this year.
Ooh.
It's the horrific comedy What We Do in the Shadows. It's a mockumentary about vampires living together as roommates.
They're werewolves, not swearwolves. It's the only thing I remember.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a mockumentary about a group of vampires who are roommates trying to get by in the world. Each with different ages and different styles they emulate, they deal with adventures, misadventures, and everyday realities and drudgeries, together while more or less staying friends.
I really thought the movie was a lot of fun.
Oh, the movie was great.
Yeah, and the short that started it. So I'm looking forward to the series.
Yeah, looking for it. Yeah, that'll be good.
Yes, I think so.
Do you know if Peter's in it?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know anything about it. If it's the same characters or... I think they're rebooting it. I don't think it's a continuation, but I'm not even sure of that.
Okay,
So, yeah.
well, late March, we'll find out.
We will, yeah.
Next, we had the genie let out of the bottle, and there's no stuffing him back in. In a recent Reuters article, Netflix executives talked about their personal love of the interactive sci-fi feature Bandersnatch and the goals they have for more projects in the near future. There are already some kid-friendly shows that are doing the same thing. Why not romance for adults, too?
And certainly more horror movies. While they can't see it replacing the standard fare as their new normal, more projects are certainly coming in the future.
Well, they always say pornography leads technology.
Is there any interactive porn out there already?
Not that I've ever heard of,
Not that
but
I've
not
heard
that
of
I'm an
either.
expert. It's kind of odd that sci-fi is actually leading the way on this one.
Mm-hmm. There's more coming.
Yeah, a lot
Yeah,
more.
and more genres.
If you want to celebrate the 4th of July holiday with something in addition to cookouts and fireworks, Stranger Things Season 3 is coming on July 4th.
I can't wait. I loved the first 2 seasons.
It's good, yep.
They got a brand new trailer that shows, well, the kids are older and the town is still weird. There's new characters, and the old established characters are still there too, it looked like, for the most part.
And that is one of the things they said last year that they were going to do, is have the kids age in real time.
It looks like they have.
So it's been a year or so since the last one, so the kids are all a year or so older.
And there's still monsters.
Of course there are.
Yeah, monstrous monsters.
Next up, proving that it runs in the family, Joe Hill, son of Stephen King, has an anthology of his short stories coming out collectively titled Full Throttle. The description says,
Featuring 2 previously unpublished stories and a brace of shocking chillers, Full Throttle is a darkly imagined odyssey through the complexities of the human psyche. Hypnotic and disquieting, it mines our tormented secrets, hidden vulnerabilities, and basest fears, and demonstrates this exceptional talent at its very best. End quote. Somebody paid some money for the rating of that blurb.
but I like
that's a
my
plug.
tormented secrets, hidden vulnerabilities, and basest fears.
Well, now they're going to be brought to light.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, well.
It's a teaser for now, though. It's available as a pre-order, and it's actually coming out October 1st.
Ooh, just in time for Halloween.
Exactly.
Monsterpalooza 2019 is coming soon. Considered by many to be the convention to attend, people will be coming from all over the world to descend on the Pasadena Convention Center in Southern California, April 12th through 14th. The massive event will feature hundreds of vendors, makeup demonstrations, a monster museum, discussion panels, and guests, the likes of Bruce Campbell, Jason Patrick, Linda Blair, and many others.
It's not too late to get your tickets and haul yourself out there for some fun. Freakmo posted a really good 14-minute highlight film of the 2018 convention that's really a hoot. Covers a lot of stuff and gives you a taste of what it's like, even if you can't make it out there.
And
it's a really fun video.
And we've linked to that in our show notes, and it's looks like it ought to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, you should at least check the video out.
Yeah. So, rumor has it we watched a few movies this week.
I was going to ask if you saw any good movies lately, but we're going to
I
start
think
out
we're
with...
going to argue about that a little
We're
bit.
starting out with The Cat and the Canary from 1927.
I had never seen this.
I had never seen this.
This is Universal's third horror movie.
It's silent.
A couple weeks ago we did The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Last week we did Phantom of the Opera. Next up is The Cat and the Canary, which was 1927. So this is their third. Also silent, also...
Monochrome.
Yep.
I wouldn't say black and white because sometimes it's blue and sometimes it's red. And
yeah, some of them have been tinted.
Some tint there, but yeah, monochrome. And yeah, we watched it.
Okay, well, the old man Cyrus West is dying, and like cats around a canary, his relatives are waiting for him to die. The first scene is old Cyrus being surrounded by giant cats. It's a dream. He leaves a will and a letter that is marked to never open the letter if the terms of the will are carried out.
And the will is to be carried out 20 years from the date of his death. So
Legally speaking, can you even do that? Here's my will, don't read it for 20 years.
it's fun to think that you could. I don't know for sure if you really could.
Yeah, who knows, in 1927.
But they did. So the actual movie starts 20 years later.
Yeah, and they say his ghost is still wandering the corridors.
Well, they would.
Yeah. Okay, so Mr. Crosby, the lawyer, arrives to read the will. The maid, Mammy Pleasant, has been living in the house for the entire 20 years.
She's a stern lady.
She's a weird one.
Yes, stern and weird.
Harry Blythe, cousin Charlie Wilder, Aunt Susan, her niece Cecily, Paul Jones, and Annabelle West arrive. They all get together and read the will, and the old dead man gives everything to the relative who kept the name of West. And that would be Annabelle, assuming she can pass an examination to prove her sanity and identity.
And there's a stipulation that there's a second name in a hidden envelope. And the will says that everything will go to that person if Annabelle is declared insane.
So a man comes to the door stating that an escaped madman is in the area, and he's tracked him to the gates of this house.
He's a guard from the local asylum, and he's got his straitjacket with him, all ready to apprehend his fugitive.
So this guy, the maniac, he thinks he's a cat and kills people like canaries, the guard says.
No, kills...
Yeah.
Oh, yes, he did say that.
So this backup letter, turns out, the one that they're supposed to read if there's something wrong with Annabelle, has already been opened and read. He can tell because it's got these fancy seals on the back. And someone could use that information to do harm to Annabelle.
And so it's sort of a comedy. I mean, the characters are kind of madcap, and there's slapstickish things going on. It's really not very scary.
I would say it's not a comedy. Each character is unique and stereotypical. It's sort of a caricature.
Mm-hmm.
With silent movies, you had to overact quite a bit in order to get your point across.
And they do.
From our point of view, it's kind of silly, it's kind of laughable, it's kind of juvenile. I think they took it pretty seriously at the time.
Mm-hmm. They did remake it 3 times?
Yeah, it's at least
and
3.
Most famously, a version with Bob Hope. So you know
that would have been a pure comedy.
they played up the comedy there. Yeah. So I guess there's seeds of comedy here, the beginnings of comedy. It was based off a play that staged in 1922.
And it was made and remade several times while the original writer was still alive to enjoy it.
So there's scary stuff. A clock that hasn't chimed since the old man died starts to chime, and
Secret panels with hairy arms reaching out from it.
mm-hmm,
There's a monster at the end that really just turns out to be a guy in a mask.
kind of a Scooby-Doo kind of ending.
I was just going to say Scooby Doo may well have looked at this as a model.
I bet they did.
I think just about every single haunted house movie ever stole from this.
Mm-hmm.
We look at it as juvenile and kind of dumb.
But that's kind of where it began.
This was
Had
the
to begin
first
somewhere.
one. Everything started from this one.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up, I always heard about how great Buster Keaton comedies were. You've heard of him, right?
Yes, I
Old
have.
time stuntman comedy kind of. And I watched them, and they were the most boring movies I had ever seen.
But they were groundbreaking.
Every act, every joke, every physical bit of comedy I had seen 20 times before in other things.
But it was new then.
He invented it all.
These were big hits
He was
then.
a genius who
Yeah.
invented this stuff, and everybody else had copied. But we'd seen the copies, so the original didn't look like much.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the case with this one. We're too familiar with this stuff.
Yeah, I think so. So overall, I wouldn't give it a very high rating, but yeah, back then, if I wasn't so jaded and experienced, probably would have given it a higher rating.
I think it was nice to see a silent film that wasn't historical based. It took place in modern day 1920s.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some good camera tricks, and even the text cards have some nice little animations. Somebody screams and the letters sort of vibrate and shake. This is a very late period silent film.
They were pretty advanced technologically.
For silent, yeah.
For silent, yeah.
It's not particularly scary or funny, but it's a light movie intended to entertain. If you're a completionist, you want to see all the Universal movies, you got to see this one. And if you're a horror historian, you should see this one as well.
To see where these things, so many of these tropes started from.
Yeah. Just about every horror trope is there.
The secret panels, the mysterious, the meeting at midnight, the gathering around the table.
The dead man who falls out of the closet.
Yes.
The monster at the end.
Yes.
One little bit of trivia, the character who plays Annabelle died in 1994, and everyone else in the movie, every single character was dead before either of us were born.
Wow.
That just shows how old this is.
Yeah. Yeah, they were adults in 1927. They were well into adulthood, and yeah, that makes sense.
I didn't check that with the other two movies, but there were so few actors in this one, it was easy enough to check.
What else did we see?
We saw, from the silent movie, we went to a subtitled movie.
A Japanese horror movie called Noroi the Curse from 2005.
2005. Director was Koji Shiraishi, and it stars Jin Maraki, Ryo Kano, and Tomono Kuga.
And it was not silent, but we could still barely understand a word they said.
Well, it was Japanese.
Yeah.
Subtitled, almost 2 hours. And it needs 2 hours because this one unfolds a lot of stuff.
It's a little bit complicated on the storyline.
This is very complicated. It's a story about a guy named Masafumi Kobayashi, a paranormal journalist who has written many books about paranormal phenomenon.
And it's done as a documentary.
Yeah, it's a found footage
It's a found
documentary
footage kind of thing.
But it's good.
It is, yeah, it was good.
He compiled all his research on videotapes, and in 2004, the year before this movie was made, he finished his latest documentary called The Curse. And shortly thereafter, we're told his house burnt down, his wife died, and he was declared missing.
He hasn't been seen since.
And we get all this before the credits, so it's not a spoiler. A woman calls Kobayashi to investigate that she hears this crying baby outside mysteriously.
So he's got a cameraman following him around. It's
Yeah.
like he's actually going to these sites and investigating these things.
He's like a reporter with a
just like a
cameraman,
documentary being made.
So he records the noise and has it analyzed, and it's actually the sound of 5 different babies. He also finds several dead pigeons at the house. The sound stops when the neighbors move out. The lady who called him mysteriously died in a car accident 5 days later.
There's a lot of death and destruction in this one.
Yeah, somewhat random seeming.
Yeah.
Then it breaks to a segment from a variety show where they're testing a bunch of children's clairvoyance abilities. One girl gets it exactly right. The second time, she draws a bent-looking skull shape, which was not the thing they were looking for.
But she manages to manifest water She's clearly got some gifts or something weird going on.
Inside the water, though, there's a hair that they analyze and find out it's some kind of weird animal. Then we go back to Kobayashi, and he's visiting Kana, the psychic girl. She's had headaches since the experiment. And that's the end of that scene. We then go on to another variety show.
And the variety shows were really well done. They look like real Japanese TV shows. You can tell the difference between his footage and these TV shows.
It doesn't all look like the same camera or anything. It's very. There are some stuff from the 70s that are done on VHS, and it's kind of, looks like a VHS.
And you can tell.
And most of it is done with modern digital cameras. And it really looks good. It's very authentic seeming.
Mm-hmm.
But then on this next variety show, two celebrities accompany a psychic to a haunted shrine. And she falls down screaming. She's later examined on stage by another psychic, Mr. Noroi, a weird guy who wears a tinfoil hat.
And attacks her, screaming, the pigeons, and they're ranting and raving, and he's just wacky. Beyond wacky.
And, of course, afterwards they show a video of the incident at the shrine, and way back in the background is a figure that has a strangely bent head. Like the girl's drawing.
Little girl's drawing, yeah. And we shouldn't give more spoilers than that.
By this time, we're about a half an hour in.
And that's not really much as far as spoilers. There's a lot of...
It's introducing all the characters.
Yeah, basically that sets it up, and then all this stuff starts getting interlaced, and you figure out what's going on gradually as he uncovers it.
And there's a lot going on in this movie. It's a very complicated world with psychics, investigators, demons, flooded towns, rituals, skulls, ectoplasmic worms,
pigeons and dogs.
Pigeons, yes.
Dogs, lots of dogs.
It's got some interesting imagery with skulls and tied ropes, as well as the clear modern camera work that competes with old videotape footage. It's a very slow build-up, but it's good in the end.
Yeah, I thought it was.
One warning, there is a lot of talking, which means that there's a lot of subtitles to deal with. But the found footage and the interview style of film make it seem a lot more realistic, I thought, even though that's been done way too much lately.
I was concerned about that going into it.
But this is a 14-year-old
found
movie,
footage one.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really worth it.
You liked it? I thought you were bored.
No, I wouldn't say I was bored.
Okay.
No.
I was not bored. I liked it.
I was entertained.
I'll go 8.5 out of 10. 6 out of 10 if you hate subtitles.
I'd go an 8 out of 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thumbs up.
Yep. Thumbs up from both of us.
We don't really know what Noroi means, though.
No, couldn't find really any reference to that. And they don't use the word Noroi in the movie.
That's not the name of the demon creature either.
No. That's, what do they call that?
I didn't write it down.
Kagutaba.
Kagutaba.
Kagutaba is the main villain.
And he's a good one. He's sneaky.
Yeah, he is.
Did we watch a short film this week?
We did. We watched one called Monitor that I thought was very good.
It was very good. It's 8 minutes, 13 seconds, so not too awful long. And there's this guy who works in a convenience store. He cleans up and stocks the shelves and cleans the toilet and all the usual stuff. And he's bored. He's been working there too long, too many years, and
not enough customers.
Yeah. Then a man walks in and walks straight to the restroom. Everybody's done it. Go to one of these places. Gotta go
right now. Yeah.
About this time, the monitors start acting up, showing that man in various places in the store when he's clearly still in the restroom. Then he sees the man, wearing a mask, walk up to the counter with a knife. He goes right up to the clerk, getting ready to stab him, and then vanishes.
But then what happens?
What's up?
We're not going to tell you. You have to watch it for yourself.
It's creepy, well shot, and well acted, I thought.
Yeah, good special effects with the video work.
He's just one actor, but he did a really good job.
Cameras, two actors.
Yeah.
There was the guy, too. Yeah.
Sorta.
But he was there. Yeah.
And it was just the right length. Didn't feel stretched out, didn't feel too short. It was really good.
Perfect.
Just right on. Yeah, and it doesn't explain everything either.
Nope.
Monitor. We'll link to it in the show notes.
Check it out.
Check out the show on horrorbulletin.com. We'll link to it there. And last,
Possum. 2018.
Mother, father, what's afoot? Only possum black as soot. Mother, father, where to tread? Far from possum and his head. Here's a bag, now what's inside? Does he seek or does he hide? Can you spy him deep within? Little possum, black as sin.
Well, we saw this.
It was a thing. It stars Sean Harris and Alan Armstrong. Both of these guys you've seen on other things before.
Brilliant actors doing some brilliant acting.
Well,
But the story,
this may be the most depressing movie I've seen in months.
yeah, an extremely depressing movie.
All the way. It starts out depressing and goes downhill from there.
Yeah.
There's a guy, Philip, who carries a mysterious bag who arrives by train and goes straight to a boarded up old house. Inside the filthy old house, he wanders around and finds no one is home. He goes out back and pulls a giant spider out of his bag and hides it in a barrel.
You don't see it at first. You just kind of see the legs and the
You can see the
implication of it
legs,
at
and
first.
it's very
yeah.
spider-like.
And you gradually piece together that this is his childhood home he's come back to.
Yeah. The next morning, he wakes up to find the spider in his bed. And Morris, an older man, downstairs. Turns out the spider is his puppet, and he is a disgraced puppeteer.
And Morris, and it's actually Maurice, but they pronounce it Morris like the
Yeah.
British way, is either uncle or stepfather.
Yeah, he clearly is told he's not your father. He's not the father.
Yeah.
So he's an old guy, some kind of vague relative. And apparently there was quite a scandal with this puppet, which from looking at it, I could see why kids would be terrified.
Creepiest puppet ever.
But
Yeah.
it's never really clear what quite went on there.
A lot of it's not clear what's going on, and some of it is Philip imagining things, and I think some of what he's seeing is hallucinations. He's clearly a damaged person.
Yeah, it becomes clear pretty on that he seems to have some sort of mental issues. He's either hallucinating, or the monster's real, or he's
some
just
combination
some
of both,
psychological
or-
issues for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Not crazy in the psycho way, but damage definitely. So he says he's there to destroy the puppet. About this time, we see on the news that there's a local boy missing in the area.
And we keep seeing that.
Yeah,
in the
repeatedly
news.
we hear
Yeah.
updates about this missing kid.
And we saw the missing kid right at the beginning. They were on the train together.
I didn't realize that was a missing kid until well into it.
Yeah,
But,
that was him. Yeah.
So not long after, he throws the bag containing Possum into the river, but he can't be apart from it. He goes back and retrieves the thing, and wakes up again in bed with it the next morning. Clearly, he's a little wacko.
And yeah, I think the allegory there is it's baggage that he's desperately trying to get rid of and can't.
There's lots of aimless wandering around in dirty, abandoned places, even swampland.
Which I thought was a little bit overkill.
It
I almost
tends
felt
to drag a little bit.
I felt like it was worth watching and very good, but yet almost could have been a half an hour short film.
You're
I
reading my
see.
notes.
I see that you have a note of that too. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a it's really moody. If you like moody, atmospheric films, this is really good for that.
But it'll be a shot of him standing, gazing off in a field for like a minute. And then he'll be in an empty room staring at the wall for a minute. And then the puppet creeps around,
So you
the
were
puppet
you were
is
bored
there in
with
the
this
room.
part.
Kinda. Yeah.
And I have it written here as it's a mood of bleak isolation and loneliness.
Well, it is.
I thought it was effective.
Okay, but too much. Like, kind of beating us over the head with it.
Okay, now here we get to the real crux of the movie. Philip hates the puppet, but he can't give it up.
Mm-hmm.
Is that like a metaphor for anything?
Like, yeah.
Maybe later on?
Uh-huh. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, but is the puppet really the source of the problem?
Well, it's complicated.
Yeah, we won't go any further than that with details.
Because we
this is
really
all
don't
pretty
want to give
early
you
into
spoilers
it.
on this one. We really don't.
Yeah.
You do need to see it, and the ending is wow.
Actually, I thought the not the trailer, the description on the movie gives too much away.
Oh, I didn't read the description. Okay.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you later.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so
don't read the description then, because you don't want to know.
as Kevin says, it kind of feels like a short film that's been stretched a little bit too thin.
I had an inkling of where it was going at the end, but only an inkling, and I wasn't completely right of how the ending was going to happen, how it was going to wrap up.
I didn't know how it was going to wrap up. I kind of figured that Actually, no. I figured all along it'd turn. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
There's just no way
just
to talk
don't.
about
Yeah,
this.
just don't spoil it. Just let them watch
But
it.
of these 3 movies, this is the one we're going to talk about after the show. So it's definitely worth sitting through the depressing bit, which the depressing bit is an hour and 25 minutes.
It's not a happy movie.
It's the most hopeless movie I've seen in a long time. You know it's not going to end well from the beginning, and you'd be right.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, short film stretched too thin. It does. It feels like one of the shorts that we watch, maybe 15 minutes long would have been good.
Half an hour.
Yeah.
I think they could have done half an
The
hour.
the plot could have
40
been
minutes,
done
maybe.
much quicker.
Half clearly. Yeah.
But there's a lot of moody atmosphere in this one.
There sure is. Yeah. Good soundtrack too. Good moody, gloomy soundtrack.
I didn't even notice the soundtrack, so that's one step saying it's good.
Yeah.
Well, the sun must be coming up. The vampires are starting to shuffle back in for the day, and we need to get going so they can get their sleep. Thanks for joining us. Stop in during the week at www.horrorbulletin.com for news and horror updates, to comment on this podcast, or contact us.
Check out our Twitter feed at @HorrorBulletin and our website at www.horrorbulletin.com.
Don't be afraid to leave comments anywhere, too. We love to hear from you. Send us an email. Make a note on any of the blog posts. Every one of our reviews winds up on horrorbulletin.com for you to read, comment on, and fill us in with your opinion.
And again, there's a compiled list on YouTube, a playlist of all the shorts that we've reviewed.
Yep. And, of course, you can give us a review on iTunes if you'd like, or wherever it is you're hearing this. We're on Spotify. We're on iTunes. We're on iHeartRadio.
Wherever
Google Play Music.
fine podcasts are sold.
Even where the bad podcasts are. We're everywhere. I'm Brian.
I'm Kevin.
And we'll see you next time.
See ya.